Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Glenn, what's the top story today for you?
I would say it's the border, but I know we're going to cover that with Jason. So I'm going to go on something that is not on the front page, and that is the number of suicides is doubling among kids that are 13 years old and younger. And the experts have a reason. I have a different reason.
All right, always here for the positive thoughts. Thank you, Glenn. Stu.
I want to talk about, there's a big fight about it, of course, a couple of years ago, the Trump tax increase, where he jacked up everyone's taxes.
Wait.
That's not,
now I'm pretty sure that's what polls show, that what people think in America, and I think we should maybe discuss that.
All right, Jason.
I'm actually kind of torn because I really want to talk about the border. It's so important. And I think I'm going to side with that. But there's also, I just saw this as I was walking over here from my desk, that both Netanyahu and Benny Gantz, who are running against each other to be the new prime minister, which they're counting the votes right now. Like, they should know in a few hours. They've both declared victory. That's how close it is. So it's very, very possible, probably likely, that we might have a new prime minister in just a few hours in Israel. But who knows? Like I said, they both declared victory. So watching that very, very closely. But I'm going to stick with the border. It's just too important.
Okay. All right. Lot to get into. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. So summer is coming up. We're already in April, which is unbelievable to me. And pretty soon, we're going to be out on the beach and in the pool. And some of us may or may not be hanging on to a little bit of extra, like, winter weight.
Not me. I can say that. Definitely not me.
I don't have a little extra.
No?
No, I've got a lot that's piled up on me over years.
But Riduzone can help you lose the extra weight or just maintain. I know sometimes when you hit the age that maybe all of us have at the table, it gets a little bit harder to lose weight.
Oh, yeah, really. Crimea River hit 50. I know there's somebody in the audience who's like, oh, yeah, Crimea River hit 70.
So if you've got some stubborn extra pounds that you need to lose before summer, now is the time to do it with Riduzone. It's just the good molecule in olive oil that helps boost your metabolism and reduce your appetite. So you can go to riduzone.com for you podcast listeners. That's RIDUZONE.com. Use promo code THEBLAZE and you will get 30% off of a 3-month supply. That'll get you right into summer. So you can lose those extra pounds. Riduzone.com. All right, Glenn.
So I read a story this morning about a new study that has come out from the American Academy of Psychiatrists or whatever that shows that the number of children around the age of 13 that are going in for either attempted suicide or suicidal thoughts has doubled in the last 18 months. That is
such a short time to
phenomenal, just phenomenal. And I'm reading this from CNN, and they go to all the experts, and all the experts say the same thing. Well, it's probably that there's so much pressure on kids today, and schoolwork is getting so hard. What? That has nothing to do with it. The pressure of growing up today, I think, is no different than the pressure that we were all under growing. It's just a different kind of pressure. The problem is everything around that pressure has changed. Our families have broken apart. You don't even know what truth is anymore. How does a young person even know who they are or how to find the truth when truth doesn't matter, facts don't matter, gender is fluid. You don't even know if you're a girl or a boy. What? All of the things that our kids are being influenced by right now. You can't also get a job. What kid is able to go out? I worked on a farm when I was a kid. There is something to be said about hard work. I went up to our ranch a couple of years ago, and Rafe was really having a tough spring, and we went up and I had him help me rebuild the fence and sand this whole gate down. It took us 10 days of hard work every day, sun up to sundown. He felt great. His self-esteem turned around, everything turned around. Nobody is working. You're not even going out and playing until sun up and sundown. You have to stay inside. Then what are you doing? You're playing a game where you're killing somebody. My own son said to me, Dad, I love playing these games, and after I play the game, I feel like icky inside. Well, that's a sign of something. That's a real sign of something. There's no sense of accomplishment because we've gotten rid of all trophies, all places. You know, you're not the best. You can't say that. And in fact, nothing matters except your feelings, and even your feelings are caused by someone else. You're not even responsible for your own feelings anymore. So who are you going to be? What are you going to be? What is life about? You're never going to make it because the man is keeping you down. You're never going to make it because the world is going to slide into chaos or Jesus is coming soon, kids. Whatever it is, from either side of the aisle, Donald Trump is going to enslave all of us. It doesn't matter. Our kids are living in a time where nothing makes sense. The adults aren't acting like adults. The adults are many times just looking at, hey, Dad, I got this done. Really? Tell me about it. So how was it? Oh, yeah, that's cool. That's what's happening in their lives. They're crying out, what is the meaning of life? Well, we can't talk about the meaning of life because we can't talk about creation. We can't talk about God. We can't talk about any of that, of those things. You can't have a discussion of meaning on a metaphysical level at all anymore.
They're bringing down, like, you need to have a foundation. You know, like it used to be like the truth was very easy to define, you know, back in the day. And that was easy to build, you know, that was your rock. You could build something off of that. Now there's this culture of relativism.
Everything is sand.
Yeah.
Everything is sand. We are building our children's foundations on sand. And that sand is shifting every day. What was true yesterday, what you could get away with yesterday or say yesterday or the right term yesterday, it's different. The sand is always shifting.
I would also like to note that, you know, these same experts that are saying what they believe the root cause is, those are the same experts who are...
Got us here.
Well, right, because those are the same experts who are saying it's fine for an 8-year-old to transition into, you know, a boy to transition into a female and take hormones. So it's like there's no faith in the medical community to say what the actual root cause is.
No, and there's the NHS in London is now doing experimental tests on experimental drugs for gender on children. On children.
Oh my gosh.
And that's accepted? Stop listening to these experts. Start going back to church. Start reading the Bible. There's a reason. You don't have to get all, you know, God on the Bible. It is the collection of all of the wisdom of mankind. It is, you don't even have to look at it as a true story. If this was called, you know, Nancy Pelosi's book of really handy tips, the left would love it, and they would eat it up, and they would say, this is brilliant. But because it's stuck with God, all of the things that built us as people are in that book. We've got to turn back to things that are solid.
Stu, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what you're saying largely. I would say, too, one part of it, and I don't have science necessarily to back this up, but I do think that there's the social media thing in particular, I think is a real, it really screws us up. I mean, I basically abandoned social media relatively recently, and I think it's hard for adults to handle. Like, I think adults get addicted to it, adults get pissed at it, adults get in fights with each other. It depresses adults. It's like kids can't handle that, and two quick parts of that. I think one, we're all sort of designed to hear the negative. If you have 5 compliments and 1 insult, you're only going to hear the insult. And I all know that from social media. I mean, you know, our fans are awesome. They're saying, hey, yeah, you guys are great, and like I love the people who listen. But then there's that one person who chimes in and says something negative, and that's the only one you notice because it's just the way humans are built. Think of the way kids deal with that information. And secondly, social media is designed, like the primary use of it is to try to impress other people. Like, you're trying to do something so other people click like. You're trying to do something that other people approve, that other people like it. And that is
There's only 2 ways to do it. Build or destroy.
Yeah.
Hold up or destroy.
And that is not a healthy way of going about life, especially for a child. A child should be figuring out who they are, not trying to please others. And I think that those two things, when you have built up something that's very important in your life, and we all know social media for kids is incredibly important, and that is all designed to try to impress others. And the only way you get success is by others approving of you. And then the only thing you notice is when people don't approve of you. Well, of course you're going to be depressed. Like, that is a terrible formula, and I don't want my kids anywhere near it.
But it's also, I'm going to show you a tweet that came out yesterday. We showed you the woman with the clown wig and the frog yesterday, remember?
Who could forget that?
Yeah, who was so upset about that. Here's one that came out after the show. It's a picture of 2 cards in a Hallmark store. One says, "You're the kind of girl that I'd buy flowers for. You're the kind of boy I'd make a sandwich for."
Cute.
Cute,
that. That's so
okay?
cute.
It's a freaking Hallmark card. They've never been known for their deep, deep thinking, okay? Sarah Phelps, she writes, quote, "What the F is this? J, whatever."
You can't
I
even.
can't even say it. I was born in the 1960s, and I remember this effing 70s and 80s, and this is still this effing S. Mother of God, I will kill.
That's not a balanced thing. Like, I'm
No.
sure, did that exist before social media?
No.
I'm sure people had thoughts and that pissed them off, but like, it just drives you to such extreme levels. And of course, like, what is suicide if not an extreme act, right? It's like, it's the ultimate expression of extremist behavior. And we see it with suicide bombers, right? I mean, like, this is their crazy religion taken to the 9 millionth degree. And it's the same thing here. People are insane on this stuff. And I do think that that's kind of part of it. I mean, like, that is like not a rational way of dealing with it. The woman yesterday with the clown and the Pepe the Frog was the other side of it. She was immensely proud of herself for just saying into a camera that she now owned the image of a clown hat on a frog. Like, that's not an accomplishment. But she was immensely proud of herself for just saying it. It wasn't even true. And she, like, that is just like, it's an irrational world. And I don't know how we get back to what Glenn's talking about, like going back to more foundational principles when that's dominating your life for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day or more if you're a kid.
I would just like to say I would buy that card for my husband.
I love that card. I buy that.
love that card
And I
for
do
my
make
wife.
sandwiches for him, so it's perfect.
I talked to...
Never for us though. Never.
Never.
I talked to a kid recently. I was asked to talk to this kid and probe. I have experience with suicide in my family. And sat down, we just talked. And have you thought of hurting yourself? Yes. Have you thought about suicide? Yes. Have you thought about ways to do it? Yes, and I've rejected it because I would have to do it. I would have to do it in a bigger way because I would want at least my death to have meaning.
Jeez.
There is no meaning in life to kids. Nothing has meaning. Life has no meaning. We must restore meaning, and you can't find it at a store. You'll never find it from a candidate. You will only find it in eternal things.
All right. Back in a minute with, I think, something a little lighter.
It's true.
Well, I'll be quiet.
No, please. Stu, you said that Trump increased our taxes.
Massively.
This is
Do you believe
news
this
to
guy?
me.
Do you believe this guy?
I could have sworn that they passed a tax cut.
Well, he did. It was a tax cut, but for very wealthy people only. If you made over $100 billion a year,
That's how they do
you
it.
received a 100% tax cut, but no one
Wow.
else got anything.
No one else.
That's kind of what the media's been saying, right? That's the way they pitched the tax plan. It's a Republican tax plan. It is a plan that gave money to the rich at the expense of the poor and the middle class. We've heard this argument over and over and over again. And, of course, if you look at their legislation, if you look at any of the facts, you know that this is not true. This is not an actual point that is legitimate. A new report has come out over the past couple of days talking about who actually gets tax rebates, and this is kind of based on a poll. John King from CNN Politics covered this poll in a segment, and think about this. We had how long of a debate over this tax plan? It was a big issue. It was basically dominated, with the exception of the Obamacare repeal, dominated the first year and a half of the presidency of Donald Trump. I mean, it was a big deal. And you'd think that this would be a big issue if the American people completely incorrectly had an impression that their taxes were going up and not down. Right? This is a big deal and a huge failure for the media. This is the treatment it got from CNN yesterday.
We shall see. Yes. And speaking of taxes, just 7 days until the April 15th deadline. The recent Wall Street Journal poll finds just 17% of Americans believe they're actually paying less under the new Trump tax law. 28% say they're paying more. The Congressional Joint Committee on Taxation says that's a misconception. Nearly half of all households are getting a $500 tax cut. Many Americans are, though, noticing smaller refunds because their withholding was reduced when the new law kicked in. Math, fuzzy math, some say. We'll be right back.
Some say. Who says fuzzy math? That's clear.
It's not fuzzy math at all.
It's not fuzzy math.
No, it's not fuzzy math. And it's just incredibly frustrating because people have absolutely no knowledge of how taxes work. I mean, Reagan said famously that if we just made people pay the taxes at the end of the year and didn't do withholding, there'd be a revolt against taxation right away.
No, forget that. You should pay it every month. That's how I would do it.
Quarterly.
No. Every time you get your paycheck cut from your employer, you should have to turn around and write the check. Like it shouldn't be. They make it too easy.
Well,
the employer does it automatically for you.
I also found it interesting the way that he crafted that most, this percentage of Americans believe that this is what they're doing. Like,
Right.
well, why does it really matter? Like, why is that what you're
feelings.
reporting on?
Feelings
Right.
matter.
I
How
think
about say most Americans are incorrect?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why it matters, right? Like this should be in a real normal world of media doing their jobs, should be they should have a massive meeting where they're saying, guys, these people all got tax cuts and they think they got an increase. What role did we have in that?
In the meeting of the journalists, if that were during Obama, the round table would have been, how are they getting that impression? Where are they getting that impression from? They can't have that conversation because they're only getting that impression from the
them.
media.
Yeah, with that and the fact that they don't understand taxes and they don't realize the fact that they're getting smaller refunds is a good thing. A refund is not a present from the government. It is them holding onto your money all year and you not getting interest on it. Like they're stealing from you. That is what a refund is.
And that including the number that you lose in just inflation.
Yeah.
Just inflation in that year period, you lose additional dollars.
Yeah, and I'll say too, the fuzzy math thing is really problematic because he's giving an insinuation there that you didn't actually get they say you're getting a $500 tax rate, but that some say that that's fuzzy math. It's not fuzzy math. You're getting the tax break. We all know we're getting the tax break if you actually follow this, but they do such a job to try to push down this road, and this is not something that I'm just saying. This is the left even admitting it. This is Matthew Iglesias. He writes, nobody likes to give themselves credit for this kind of messaging success. But progressive groups did a really good job of convincing people that Trump raised their taxes when the facts say a clear majority got a tax cut.
Isn't that horrible?
Can you imagine admitting that?
That's a good thing.
That is an incredible quote, I think.
I retweeted that last night, and I'm like, what kind of horrible human being do you have to be to take pride in the fact that your side just lied and convinced people to feel worse about something they should feel good about?
You want to talk about useful idiots?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
About fake news.
Well,
you just described it in that tweet perfectly.
But I mean, it's like,
Gosh.
he describes it in the tweet, and still the left will look at that and not change their minds on anything.
No, and like the treatment that it gets is that with the music coming up as we go to break, he rattles up a couple of stats, calls it fuzzy math, and then they go to commercial. And at least they mentioned it. I mean, it's almost like CNN is good on this story compared to the rest of the media.
But have you ever seen it was almost like an obligatory, and I need to tell you that CNN is about to shut down because we don't have any ratings. Back in just a second. It was almost that.
There's not a lot of passion behind that. The bottom line is, I wasn't overly thrilled with the scope of the tax cut. I think it could have been bigger and better, especially with the control of all three houses. all three branches. I mean, it should have been great.
It was
And I think
meh.
it was okay. It was a normal Republican-ish tax break, and whatever. It's better than a tax increase. We'll take it.
At least if they followed it up with spending cuts as well.
No, they didn't.
Oh, that's right.
And we also then reversed a third of the tax cuts because of tariff increases.
Oh my gosh, more
Total another issue.
Tariff-ageddon. More Tariff-ageddon yesterday, too.
I know, but I mean, the bottom line is this is something that actually is good. The economy is roaring. We've had incredible levels of success here, and the idea that the American people think the exact opposite happened, it's not Donald Trump's fault. It's not him blaming the media. That is the media's fault for not informing the people of what's actually
Do you
occurring.
remember the number of times we heard the media say the number of jobs created
Or saved. I remember that.
or saved? How do you count a saved job?
I haven't heard the saved job thing in so long.
Right.
Until almost 2017-ish,
Right.
I would say.
I haven't heard the saved job ever in my life.
We saved 300 million jobs.
Right.
So this is
That's what they-
historic job growth.
And that's what they said.
Yeah, I remember that.
They said, we saved all those jobs at GM. We saved all those jobs in the financial sector. We saved, excuse me?
That was incredible.
You can't count it that way. And yet the media all reported jobs created or saved. Now we don't hear anything. It's the best job market in 100 years. Pittsburgh hasn't had this unemployment this low since 1970. That's when they were making steel.
Wow. I have to believe, though, you look at CNN's ratings right now. I mean, I know you made a joke about CNN, going out of
CNN
business.
is a joke.
Yes, that is the joke itself. But I mean, you look at this, and you would think that they would say, "Okay, guys, what are we doing wrong?" Maybe not.
theory.
How can we report the accurate facts? But just like for our ratings' sake, what are we doing wrong? And they're just doubling down.
Okay,
and
so
ratings show.
here's the theory. When we came out, when everybody was for Donald Trump, and I said, I'm not for this guy, look at what he's doing. Look at what he has said in the past. He has zero track record. This is too critical of a time. Don't do it. My audience did not want to hear that, okay? They did not want to hear that. But you have to have the balls and the willingness to tube it. They don't. And so what they've done is they've trained like SEALs. They've trained, I'll give you a fish out of the bucket. Keep coming, I'll give you a fish out of the bucket. Well, the fish is rotten now. But if they go to another bucket and try to feed it another fish, the seal doesn't want that fish. The seal has been trained for this fish. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. To come in and go, hey, you know what? He's doing good. They've made him into such a monster that they cannot disconnect themselves from that.
All right, back in a minute.
How did I become the seal in this little analogy? I singled out there.
In case you guys have not done this yet, you gotta go to BidenBracket.com. We've got a really, really big challenge going. And when I say challenge, I mean it. It's really hard to pick between some of these
today is
freaky
really hard,
pictures.
yeah.
It's so hard.
Tomorrow is going to be Sophie's choice. I don't know I don't know who gets on the train.
I don't either.
BidenBracket.com. And then if you have not yet done so, I've got a new YouTube channel out you can subscribe to. It's called Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered. Glenn was saying he was so excited about it that he is also, like Pat, going to personally show up at everyone's door.
Wow.
Who subscribes today. It's a big thing.
See, I prefer my Sarah Gonzalez filter.
I like that filter.